Alright, my speech will be on the stigma of mental illnesses. Psychotic, crazy, dangerous, out of control, unreliable, non-human. These are the exact words that go through an average individual's mind when it comes into talking about mental institutions and their patients. There are many beliefs and stories that have came with the cause of mental illness. Their methods of treatment were god-awful and brutalizing. I never really knew how bad mental institutions were until my family had experienced it with my aunt. The so-called experts say that these brutalizing treatments are for their own good, but I think they are pure dehumanizing. There are many different stories and beliefs about how and why people became mentally ill or insane. One was believed that insanity was caused by the full moon at a baby's birth. Or, also, they say, while a baby is sleeping under the light of a full moon. Colonists declared they were possessed by the devil. Early as 5000 BCE, early men thought that the result was from supernatural phenomena, such as spiritual or demonic possession. Hebrews believed that the punishment was inflicted on humans, that the illness was inflicted upon the humans as a punishment from God for committing sin. For a long time, they believed that the mental illness was impossible to cure, but that soon changed as years passed on. Methods they used in the past were dehumanizing, but that has changed over time. Some of the past methods were electroconvulsive therapy, lobotomy, restraints, abuse, drugs, and seclusion. Today, the methods they use are less brutal than back in the day. In cases today, they use drug therapy and psychotherapy. They still use lobotomy and electroconvulsive therapy, but that's only for patients that need it. Electroconvulsive therapy is a somatic therapy that stimulates the brain. It is used for severe depression. With electroconvulsive therapy, they attach electrodes to their head, and while they're sedated, a series of electrical shocks are delivered to the brain to induce seizure. The patients that undergo this experience, they temporarily lose their memory. Electroconvulsive therapy is safe and rarely causes any other complications. The modern use of anesthetics and muscle relaxants have greatly reduced any other risks that come along with electroconvulsive therapy. The original lobotomy was a medical procedure where neural passages from the front of the brain were surgically separated from the back of the brain. They used this procedure to help forget depression or discouraging feelings or tendencies. It took great skill and training for the practicing surgeons. They soon came up with transorbital lobotomy, which is a better procedure for lobotomy, as they say. The procedure for transorbital lobotomy is they would first sedate the individual, and to induce sedation, they would inflict 2 shocks to the head. They would roll back one eyelid and insert a device 2/3 the size of a pencil through the upper lid into the head. Then, by the markings indicating death, they tapped the device with a hammer into the head. After the death was achieved, they manipulated the device back and forth in a swiping motion inside the head. From a family experience with my aunt, mental institution methods aren't as effective as they say they are. When my aunt was young, as a baby, she was said to have this illness that caused her to be mentally handicapped. She could still function as a normal human being. She could talk, walk, just like a normal. The doctors told my great-grandmother that if they didn't put her in a mental institution, they would be placed as bad parents. My great-grandmother finally gave in and put her into a mental institution. The results that came out of it turned out negatively. While my aunt was in there, she was physically and mentally abused, and they used god-awful treatments on her that made her forget how to walk, talk, and function as a normal person. And today, the only word that she can say is her name. Soon after they found out what was happening in the institution, my grandparents took her out and started raising her on her own. People wish they knew half of what has happened to the patients and what goes on in the mental institutions, but they will never really know. The treatments they used were terrible, and I wish my family didn't experience it firsthand. People are always going to believe what they want and do what they want. But the stigma of mental illness is not only on the blame of on the doctors and the staff that work in the mental institutions, but also it is on the judgmental and cruel people in the world today.